Well, today, at the time that I'm recording this video, it is August 11th, 2014 at 8:24 p.m. Today was quite an aggravating day. I have a headache because it's been so aggravating. Pretty much everything that could go wrong did. And then I was getting ready to go in the pool to try to kind of cool down and try to relax myself because of my anger. And that's when my phone rang. And that's when I received the horrible news that legendary actor and comedian Robin Williams has died. And that right now the rumor is he took his own life. Like many, I'm a huge fan. I just love Robin Williams. He has been a part of my life since I was a little kid. I mean, one of my earliest memories of television is watching Mork and Mindy. I mean, I see it now, and this goes way back to when I was just a few years old, because I could see my grandparents, and they've been dead since I was 5, and I see them in the house, and I remember watching Mork and Mindy and the family being over, and I've always liked his work, always. But moreover than that, I started my career in comedy 26 years ago. 26 years ago. I was a kid. And I started doing comedy. I started doing stand-up comedy, and I was doing celebrity impersonations and things like that. And eventually, at the age of 16, I started my own comedy talk show on TV. The show did really well, but part of the show was playing all of these different characters. I played a ton of different characters. And a handful of actors inspired me at that time. People like Tom Hanks, who back then was more known for his comedy than his drama. John Candy, Chevy Chase, Dan Ackroyd, Steve Martin, Bill Murray, Martin Short, and Robin Williams. But Robin Williams was showing a different side by this point. That not only could he be one of the funniest guys around, he can also be amazing in drama. He was truly a gifted actor and performer, truly. But for me, he became one of my biggest inspirations, and this was especially true in 1993 when Mrs. Doubtfire came out. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. It is a funny movie. But there's something else to it, something that I noticed as a performer. He made Mrs. Doubtfire believable. We all knew that he was wearing makeup. As a matter of fact, that was the storyline. That Daniel Hillard was wearing makeup so that he could spend time with his kids, and so he became the nanny, Mrs. Doubtfire. And we all knew that. Yet, still, when Mrs. Doubtfire was on the screen, we believed it. We truly believe that she could be real. And she could be. Maybe we know someone like her, or we wish we knew someone like her. It was truly, in my opinion, one of the best performances I have ever seen. He should have been nominated and won an Academy Award for that. Because how many people can pull that off? Not a lot. And he did. He did. Whenever I see a good performance, I examine that performance. I want to know what that actor did, because I want to be inspired by that, by the performances I do. After my television show ended, I went into movies. And when I got into movies, what I found that I performed best as were these different characters. Characters that were not like me, whether they didn't look like me or they didn't perform like me. And it actually kind of started as a necessity. My first movie, we couldn't cast all the roles. And it was all of these roles were important. And I eventually got so fed up because I wanted to make this movie so bad, I decided, you know what? If I can't find people to play these parts, I'm just going to do it. I'll play all of these characters. I'll just put on the makeup and put special effects on. And then I channeled Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire. That was big in what I did. And I looked at Robin Williams, and what he did was he didn't overact. He didn't think, okay, I got all this thick makeup on. Nobody's going to be able to see my face. Nobody's going to be able to see my eyes. He didn't do that. He said, I'm just going to perform. I am going to believe that I am this older woman. I'm going to believe it. And I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. That's exactly what he did. Just the looks in his eyes. Remember when his son finds out that he's actually a man? And that look he gives his son, that, with the eyes? He was able to perform through all that makeup. And he did it sometimes just with his eyes. That's what a genius he was. What a true talent he was. And to this day, in all of my performances, I always think of that. I always think of Robin Williams. I always think of Mrs. Doubtfire. Not only that, but I have some things in common with him. And I get him. I totally get him. I don't have a problem with substance abuse. I actually don't drink and I don't get involved in drugs or any of that. Never have. But I do suffer from depression. I have for 20 years now. It's like this force in you that you have no control over. It just takes over you. And it can come and go. You could go through months of just feeling good. And then suddenly it just hits you. For some, it gets so bad, it's hard to live with. I've had days like that where I can't get out of bed, I can't walk, I can't move, my body hurts. I don't see a reason to keep going. It doesn't make sense to keep going. You feel nothing but darkness and pain. But some people are stronger than others. Some can fight through it. Others can't. Robin Williams just wasn't strong enough to keep fighting it. If the rumors are true. And the rumor is now that he took his own life. The other thing I got was that I knew a little bit about him, maybe more than what a lot of people know. When Robin Williams would appear on a talk show, he was the best guest you could have. He was full of energy, he was funny, he was always going, and he seemed happy, and he loved what he was doing. But when those cameras stopped rolling, he would look over to the host, whether it was Jay Leno or Dave Letterman or Conan O'Brien, and he would say, "Am I doing good? Am I okay? What do you think? Is this funny at all?" Because he didn't realize or understand what we all saw. He never thought he was that good. He didn't have 100% self-confident that he really was the funniest guy out there. But he was. And I know from a lot of people who worked with him, he was a fantastic person to work with. He was a great guy. Very funny. But he also had a lot of pain in him. A lot of pain that a lot of people don't know about. You know, a lot of performers, I mean, people badmouth Hollywood all the time. They badmouth performers. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes I agree. I don't think Hollywood should be out there getting involved in politics or any of this, and as if their opinion matters. It's annoying, quite honestly. But at the same time, they're human beings. And a lot of them do have pain. They go through what we go through. They just want to be happy. They just want to have their family and do the best for their families. They just happen to have been born with this thing in you to want to perform. I know, I have it. I was born with it. I've always had it in me. Always. And I don't want to be 90 years old and look back at my life and regret it that I never did something about it. And go, you know, I could have made movies. I could have done a TV show, but I didn't. I just didn't. Many of these entertainers are just like those of us who work in marketing, who work from home. They're entertainers. They're dreamers. They're entrepreneurs. They believed in something bigger than themselves, and they made it happen, no matter what it took, no matter how hard it was. And it is hard to make it in that business. It is hard. It is full of rejection. And that's what's amazing about it, because most of us who are in that business, we don't want to deal with rejection. A lot of us have depression or have a hard time dealing with these kind of things. That's why we go in that business, because performing allows us to vent. It allows us to just get out there. And plus, if you have that bug in you, you need to just let it loose. But rejection comes with it. And it's hard to deal with. You don't want people bad-mouthing you or ripping you apart. I gotta deal with bad reviews all the time. And I shouldn't read the reviews. And you see those few good ones, but the bad ones stand out because you feel like they're not only insulting you, they're insulting what you worked so hard for. It's a tough business. Robin Williams is truly one of my biggest inspirations, and I will never forget that. I wish I had the chance to tell him how grateful I am for the many movies, the many TV shows, the many moments of laughter he gave us. To thank him for inspiring me, for teaching me how to be a better actor. I got to see Robin Williams live about 10 years ago on stage. It was one of the funniest things I had ever seen. He had me laughing so hard, my face hurt for days. Not only that, he was such a genius that at the end of his comedy performance, he did a little thing at the end where he talked about the state that he was in. And most comedians do that. Most rock stars do that. You'll be like, you shout out the name of the city or the state you're in. But Robin Williams actually spent that day traveling around the state, going to different places. And then he talked about it. And then the audience would shout out, and you've probably seen this before. Someone will yell out of town or just say, "Hey, come to here," or "I live there," or "I do this for a living." Well, he would react instantly. And he would suddenly have this whole comedy routine based on what they said. And it was amazing because it wasn't planned. And I had heard that before the show, if he likes the audience and they have a good interaction with him, he'll keep going. Because he was endless. His comedy was endless. He could just think like that. I am so glad that I got to do that I got to see him in person and see him perform. I just wish I had a chance to meet him that day. So today, I do thank him. I thank him for his inspiration and for being funny, and rest in peace, Robin Williams. Rest in peace, and thank you. And thank you for making us believe that this old lady, this nanny, could be real, even though she wasn't. Even though we knew who was behind that mask. Thank you. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. Rest in peace.